Welcome to a Sarangi performance in Hyderabad. This is a musical offering to open the Wondrous Worlds exhibit, Art and Islam Through Time and Place, presented at the Carlos Museum at Emory University. And this performance is co-sponsored by the South Asia Seminar Series. This introductory talk to the musical performance will introduce you to some of the objects that are in the Wondrous Worlds exhibit related to music and Islamic art in a particular time and place, the old city of Hyderabad at a Sufi Dargah just after dawn prayers. One of the most beautiful objects in the exhibition, in my humble view, is this sarinda. The sarinda is a musical instrument played with a bow across a set of strings. My name is Professor Scott Kugel, and I want to introduce you to the music that comes from the sarinda and musical instruments related to it. The sarinda that we see in the exhibition is an earlier model of an instrument that continued to evolve in India, especially in the Mughal courts, into a slightly different shaped bowed instrument called the Sarangi. And the Sarangi, you can see, is similar to the instrument called the sarinda, but the body is of a slightly different shape, and the neck has evolved into a much wider neck to accommodate many more resonating strings. If you look closely, you can see that the strings are arranged in several courses, vertically, one on top of the other. One plays only 3 strings with a bow. The other strings behind resonate, creating the characteristic haunting, resonating sound. In Hindi, it's called hunch. It's a kind of sound that comes from within the instrument itself rather than directly from friction with the bow. The instrument is made from simple materials, one piece of carved wood. One needs metal wire, fine metal wire for the resonating strings, and one needs very rough and tough dried goat's guts to be the strings that one actually plays with the bow. Very tough stuff. And one needs ivory to carve the bridge and the other pieces that hold the strings above the wooden body of the instrument. And then one needs a nicely cured leather from a baby goat in order to make the resonating face, which also has much more leather covering the whole face than does the sarinda. And so from these simple materials comes a very complicated sound and a very beautiful object. The great Sufi poet Maulana Rumi has a verse that's often sung in Qawwali music in Hyderabad and other places across South Asia. Khushk tar o khushk choob o khushk post, az kuja mi ayad in avaz dost. It's just hard wood, dried leather, and brittle string. How is it that I hear the voice of my beloved from this thing? And so the creators of the sarinda, as it evolved into the sarangi, created a beautiful object that has a voice of its own when master players get their hands on it. The sarangi and the tabla, the drum that accompanies it, were often used to back up singers and dancers at Mughal festivities, as we can see in a detail from a picture that is in the exhibition. This is a miniature painting illustrating a poem called The Romance of Mehr and Mah. The sun and the moon are the names of the 2 characters, and a celebration is held when they get back together, including this riotous dance accompanied by instruments. The sarangi is not pictured in the miniature itself, but various manners of drums and other Indian instruments are. The sarangi that we're going to hear today is from Hyderabad. It was the capital of a little kingdom in South India called Golconda. It was conquered by the Mughals in 1687, and this map shows the area of Telangana where Hyderabad is the capital city. There you can see it circled in red. Hyderabad is a very special place. The old city of Hyderabad, as seen in this archival photo by the famous photographer Raja Deen Dayal, is a beautiful example of Islamic urban architecture. The Charminar is this great monument you see at the crossroads of two major highways that intersect in the center of the old city of Hyderabad, and then off to the right you can see the Mecca Masjid, which was a mosque, which was the largest mosque in India when it was begun back in the 16th century. Charminar today is a much more crowded affair. The urban bustle of Hyderabad, the loud clatter of traffic surrounds the Charminar, but it still stands as stately as ever. It was the Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb who finally conquered Hyderabad after a very long siege, and a whole political career formed around the drive to conquer this far south into India. Aurangzeb is pictured in this miniature painting that is in the exhibition. And note the throne that he's seated upon. Although he finished the conquest of Hyderabad, it was actually started by his father, the Emperor Shah Jahan. And Shah Jahan is pictured here in a miniature painting on ivory, a double portrait with his favorite wife, Mumtaz Mahal. The portrait, of course, is in the exhibition as well. For Mumtaz Mahal, he built the Taj Mahal in Agra, the greatest example of Mughal architecture. And there are pictures, archival photos in the exhibition of some of the architecture inside the Taj Mahal, the white marble latticework screen that surrounds the tomb of Mumtaz Mahal with precious stone inlay. These are amazing examples of Mughal architecture and design work. The work of inlaying stones carried out over from architecture into jewelry, and the real reason the Mughals wanted to conquer Hyderabad and the kingdom of Golconda were its diamond mines. Hyderabad and its kings controlled the richest diamond mines in India. Many of the world's famous diamonds, like this Darya-e-Noor diamond, which is now in the Iranian royal jewels. It's actually half of a diamond. It was cut into pieces, and it had been fixed on the Mughal royal throne called the Peacock Throne. The Mughals themselves didn't call it the Peacock Throne. They simply called it the Jeweled Throne because it was studded with precious stones. Most of those stones came from the mines, the Kullur mines controlled by the Golconda Kingdom. And so the Mughal emperors based in Delhi and Agra always looked south with a little bit of jealousy and envy and desire to conquer. But around Hyderabad there were many other crafts called bidri ware. Bidri ware is a kind of metalwork of inlaying silver into a copper zinc alloy, which then becomes blackened so that you have a beautiful white against black design. And bidri ware is a craft from the city of Bidr, a few hours outside of Hyderabad. The craft supposedly came to Iran. There are stories that craftspeople from Iran were brought to India by various Sufis from the Chishti order and settled in parts of India, especially Bidr. This is one pawn container in the shape of a dome, which is part of a set of beautiful objects made from metal, which are in the Wondrous Worlds exhibit. The shape of that pawn container, pawn of course being betel leaf and areca nut, it's a kind of a sweet and breath perfumer, sometimes used as an aphrodisiac as well, and always used to welcome guests. The shape of that pawn container is a dome inspired by many of the royal tombs and tombs of great Sufi saints in and around the Hyderabad region. You can see the shape of such domes here. This belongs to the greatest saint from the Chishti Sufi order who came down to South India. His name is Sayyid Gesudaraz. His tomb is at Gulbarga, very near to Hyderabad, and it was built in the 14th century. This style of building with massive domes became a characteristic feature all across the Deccan in and around Hyderabad. The architecture at Sufi tombs called dargahs was sometimes sponsored by kings and became greatly extravagant. Other Sufi tombs are quite simple. The music that you're going to hear performed today is performed at a Sufi tomb shrine in the city of Hyderabad. Sufis, of course, were Muslim mystics, mendicants, people who took on voluntary poverty in order to preach and teach and give moral example for Muslims and Hindus together. The tomb shrines that are built around their tombs are places of visitation and veneration even today by people from all religions in India and Pakistan. This is an example of a begging bowl called a Kashkul. It is featured in the Wondrous Worlds exhibit. It's made from a coco de mer, a kind of large coconut carved with Persian verses, and such bowls were carried by Sufis as they wandered up and down South India. This particular one is from Iran, and it's featuring the carvings of two darvish or Sufi devotees. Such begging bowls inspired by Sufis could sometimes be taken up by kings. This is another example of a metalwork kashkul or begging bowl, again from Iran, but similar bowls are found in India as well. It has verses from the Surat al-Naml, or the chapter called the Ant, a chapter from the Quran that talks about a humble ant that encountered the king Solomon. Another art that was very famous in and around Hyderabad is called kalamkari, which means pen work. It's a kind of cloth which is sometimes stamped with a pattern and then hand colored with ink. This is a particular cloth used for prayer. It was laid on the ground. It's in the shape of a gateway and a mihrab, or a niche showing the way to pray to face Mecca. This is also included in the Wondrous Worlds exhibit. There were areas in and around Hyderabad where this art, the kalamkari painting on fabric, reached a very high state of refinement, and you can still find artisans doing this work today. The architectural features that you see painted on that fabric are very similar to architecture which you still see in the city of Hyderabad. This is in the actual site where the musicians are going to be singing, the tomb shrine of Sufi master Shaykh Hali, Abul-Ulai. He came to Hyderabad in around 1778 from Agra, the big Mughal capital where the Taj Mahal is located in North India. Coming down to South India, he settled and became a renowned figure, and his tomb shrine, built from white marble. You can see the main tomb inside this screened latticework marble piled with rose petals is the tomb of Shaykh Hali Abul-Ulai. And it's in the courtyard of this dargah, this Sufi tomb shrine, that the musicians are going to be performing for you today. The custodian of the tomb shrine is Muzaffar Sufi Sahib, pictured here listening to our musicians play, and I wanted to thank him for his hospitality. He's a great patron of music and a Sufi teacher in the Chishti and Naqshbandi orders there in contemporary Hyderabad. You can see that he's sitting as he's listening to the music on a prayer rug, and there are several prayer rugs in the Wondrous Worlds exhibit, including this one. It's a prayer rug with a tree of life pattern, and it is woven in Turkey. You can see the tree of life pattern is also found in the actual sarinda musical instrument, which is in the exhibition. And that's the instrument that we started this whole presentation with, to remind you how we got here. When we listen to the musicians play, I want to thank Sarangi Maestro. He's standing there in the purple outfit. His name is Ustad Mohammed Aslam Khan, and he is from a musical family that specializes in the Sarangi over many generations and has also studied in Delhi with the great Sarangi teacher Sabir Khan Sahab. Accompanying him, wearing the pink, is Ustad Najmuddin Javed, one of the best tabla players in contemporary Hyderabad. I want to thank Muhammad Sabir Ali, who is the video expert, who has also done the editing of the musical performance. And special thanks goes to Jayanti Rajagopalan. She's an event organizer who brought the musicians to the site, organized the videography for Emory University. We're very grateful to her. She runs a company called Detours Hyderabad, which runs cultural and historical and cuisine tours in Hyderabad and all over India. These fantastic musicians are going to perform 4 different presentations for you. The first 2 are in the classical Hindustani Sangeet style, with 2 different rags, both associated with the early morning period, Nat Bhairav and secondly Rag Jog. When you listen to these presentations, you have to understand that the music starts very slowly, exploring the notes of the raga, and then only gradually does the accompaniment on the tabla add a rhythmic element, and melody seems to emerge from the combination of the tones of the rag and the timing, the rhythm cycles of the percussion. And so you have to use a certain amount of patience when you listen to the music and let it pick up a pace from slow to medium to fast and ecstatic. And then when the music is going very, very fast, you can really understand the artistry of both the tabla and the sarangi experts. The last 2 songs are a little bit lighter. One is a dhun, which means a song in a tumri style. It's associated with vocal music in a much lighter raga mishra pilu. Mishra means that it's mixed, so it's rag pilu, but other notes are mixed into it the way that a singer singing a love song might modulate their voice. And finally, the 4th presentation is a very special one, and you'll see when the musicians play songs that are derived from the Qawwali repertoire of Sufi devotional singing, they invite the Sufi custodian of the Dargah to sit with them on his prayer carpet, because traditionally Qawwali is always played for a Sufi master, so they want him to sit with them. And they play 2 songs. One is a very famous song in Qawwali called Allahu Allahu. The lyrics are by Zamin Ali, and it's been made famous by Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan. The second song is called Bhardo Joli Meri, Ya Muhammad, fill my lap with jewels, Ya Muhammad, fill my bag that is empty with treasures, because I don't want to go away empty. So they don't sing the words, but the words emerge from the melodies that they play from these Sufi devotional songs. So I hope you enjoy the music, and I present to you now music for Sarangi by Ustad Muhammad Aslam Khan, and accompanied on tabla by Najmuddin Javed Sahab.